Welcome everyone. Our today's session is on risk-based audit planning. So when we talk about audit risk, there are basically four kinds of audit risks which an IS auditor needs to understand before he or she plans out a proper audit based on risk assessment. So that he or she will know what areas to focus upon, what areas to give more focus, what could be on the prime list, and what could be taken up at a later time. So, one we have is an inherent risk. This, the IS auditor can't do much about it. This is something which is there inherently into the process or the or the organization or the entity which is getting audited. So, in the current COVID-19 situation, there could be an inherent risk now in the tourism industry. People may not prefer to go out and visit places in spite of the COVID-19 getting lifted. So, that could be an inherent risk for that kind of a business segment. Now, you could have risks which are control based, so which could be known as a control risk. So, if I am actually having a manual process where a manual person notes down that who has entered the premises and who have left the premises, so my this process is a manual process. So there could be risks which are present due to this control which I have. And my control is a person who is sitting at the desk who is doing it manually. There is a very good chance of him or her missing out on entries. That is a control risk which the auditor has to think about. Detection risk, again, the auditor can't do much about it. It's a material error or misstatement. So if I am doing a financial audit and if there is a misstatement about it, where the originator has done that, the auditor may not be in a position to correct. And overall audit risk talks about the probability of the errors going undetected. Now, when a risk assessment happens, what happens actually is the risk is identified, the risk is quantified, and it is prioritized against a risk criteria. And there are basically four ways to do a risk treatment. Once a risk is generated, obviously it will require a treatment. So there are four ways to do that. One is mitigate it. So you have to take an action and mitigate it. Accept it. There is nothing much a person can do about it. So if someone is living in a uh, earthquake prone area and the building is not earthquake proof and nothing can be done about it, the building cannot be broken down and reconstructed. So it's a question of accepting the risk. Avoiding the risk. So, I bring in something some way so as to avoid it. So if we take an example of our previous discussion where I was saying that yes, someone is sitting at the gate to monitor who is coming in and going out. So if I have someone, initially had no one sitting at the gate, but then I have someone, so possibly I'm trying to avoid the risk of unauthorized entries. That's all. And share is having life insurance. So everyone has to die sometime or the other. But then if I have a insurance there, so I am actually sharing out the risk. So IS audit risk assessment techniques. So as I was explaining, so when I am setting up the IS audit plan, so I am actually doing a risk based audit. So how do I do it? So I have explained you the criterias and the way of dealing with risk, but then how do I go about the risk assessment technique in planning it out? I need to understand which are the high risk areas. I need to classify them, the entire risk program into high, medium, and low. I need to have a proper scoring system. So I could have a scaling system, a scoring system, which could actually depend upon the degree of the risk which is there. Or I could have a subjective method where it depends upon the individual to determine how to go about it. Once those things are in place, I actually do a risk analysis. I list down the risk types. I have the controls. to ensure that yes, the risk gets mitigated. So to do that, I need to have an understanding of the risk. There are certain risks which are internationally accepted risks. Nothing much can be done about it, which I was explaining again on a COVID-19 platform. Tourism industry risk could be an internationally accepted risk. Everyone has accepted it. It could again depend upon the purpose and the nature of the business. So an IAS auditor, when he or she is actually auditing and he or she is fixing up an risk-based auditing platform, they need to understand these aspects. So a purpose of the nature of the business itself could drive some risk. Dependence on technology in the achievement of business goals and objectives. Again, risks could emanate from there. There could be risks which are associated with the using of IT. So if I have a network which is passing through open kind of a network where controls are not in place, so again I am actually lining up with a risk. But my business needs to have such kind of a network, so it could be possibly a business risk again of using an IT network in that kind of a setup. I need to have a proper understanding of the overall business processes and also have an overall cost of control understanding. So I also need to factor in the cost of having a particular control. So basically what intends to be saying here is, do I have a proper ROI in place? I cannot have an control which is more costlier than the risk itself. So with this, we again come to the end of this session. So watch out for my next session on this, and as we go proceed ahead, I would request you that please subscribe to my channel so that you would actually come to know every time I keep uploading new videos as we keep proceeding with Cisa exam training. Thank you.